You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt Migaki, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Johannes Ekström of Avatar. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers!
They like, why do we want to go to the racist house? I don't like racists.
Oh, man.
I don't know where these things come from in my brain, honestly, sometimes. I'm so weird.
It's almost 5 o'clock on a Tuesday. I get it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ToneMob.com podcast, the show about guitar tone and the people behind it. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, from the land of hammers and beards, I have Mr. Doug Kaver.
Hey, it's Doug. How you guys doing?
I don't know how they're doing. They're not responding to me anymore.
Fair enough.
They're like my kids. They don't listen. I only have one kid, so I don't know why I've said that. But anyway.
I have two, and they still don't listen twice as much.
Okay. Well, you know what? My 6-month-old doesn't listen at all. So I don't know what his deal is. He needs to get with it. Oh, man. So I like to start these things off with the general, really in-depth, hard-hitting personal question.
Sure.
So I hope you came prepared for that. And, yeah.
Now I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, it's gonna. Okay, here we go. Well, I mean, I don't pull any punches on this show. This is not for sissies. So here we go. Doug, how was your day? Did you have a good day?
It was an interesting day. Today was a lot better than yesterday. Let's put it that way. Yesterday was not a fun day.
Oh no. What happened yesterday?
Yeah, well, Friday I went to export something to the CNC, and it's over the network, and the computer I draw on locked up, and I thought, okay, I guess the CNC is locked up. And I should be clear, the CNC we bought it in 1999. It runs an Italian version of Windows 95 on a proprietary CPU, yeah, with 16K of RAM and a 386 processor, if I remember correctly. And so I was like, okay,
cutting
no big
edge
deal.
stuff here.
Oh, yeah. It's, I think my first cell phone had more computing power than that thing. But it works, and we own it, and it does a lot of things great. And unfortunately, processing power isn't one of them. But, so I went out there to restart it because sometimes it locks up, and it had an error code that I've seen before, and I kind of was like, oh, I don't like this error code. But I hoped for the best with Windows 95, and I rebooted it, and it was totally dead in the water all the way through yesterday.
No.
Yeah. And so I spent all day yesterday. See, this is one of those things when you own a business, these are the lovely things you get to deal with. So I spent all day yesterday. I came in Monday morning. I was going to come in and work on the weekend, and we did some, Sunday we did some of it could be a mechanical problem, troubleshooting, and then I was like, nah, I'm pretty sure it's computer related.
Right.
So Monday I came in and I reloaded the software. I've had to do this before over the years, and it started working. Like, yeah, it's great for 10 seconds. And then it would come up with some new error message, and I spent 9 hours yesterday working on this thing to finally remember. Oh, I should mention too, this machine is so old at this point that the company doesn't support it. Nobody there knows the software anymore. The one guy who was really good at this thing died last year.
Oh, no.
I'm like the last person on earth who probably could qualify as a tech for this machine. And the best way I can describe what was wrong with it would be like, it kept coming up with a parameter error. Mm-hmm. And so it'd be like if you went and got a haircut and you told the lady or the guy, not to be sexist, that you wanted them to use the clippers, and then for 9 hours you told them every pair of clippers they picked up was the wrong pair. And then finally after 9 hours you went, oh, I just want you to use hairspray. That's what it was like with this thing.
Oh, no, I apologize. I don't mean to laugh at your pain.
No. Once I realized, like, what it was is, I went through this whole process, and you have to set it up, and it kept kicking it back. And I called SCM, the company who made that machine, and I think you got the bad corrupted parameter file. So I went through all my backups going back 15 years at this point. None of them would work. And then finally, I remembered from the last time this happened that like you have to load a file that has nothing to do with parameters. You don't load it in an area that says parameters or like it's totally some random thing. And I went, oh, I think I remember this, and I hit enter, and it worked fine ever since.
Oh,
So today was fine. We got to use the thing again.
You got to cut out things that needed cut.
Oh
man,
just what a day! We went and had dinner last night, and I was in bed by 7:45. I didn't have a brain cell left after that. I was gone. I was like, I've used a year's worth. If this thing broke every 6 months, I'd be really great at it. But about once every 3 years, it does this, and I'm like, it's just long enough that I can't remember that one part. I'm like,
right, and it's not often enough that you're like, I need a new one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't want to spend another $100,000 right now. So,
yeah, no kidding.
Especially when it's just that's a Windows 95 thing. That machine's fully entertaining, but it sure does what it does well when it works.
Gotcha.
It's like, was it 40% of the time it works every time?
So, oh man, I've dealt with similar problems before.
Sure.
And gone through similar troubleshooting methods and realized, oh, yeah, I forgot to turn this fader up over here.
Yep.
Yep. It's
it's the worst.
Oh. But it is nice when it's like you're like so mad for a second, like, how did I forget that? And then then you just go, oh, it's over.
Then it resolves itself. Yeah. It's just one of those things. That's the hidden cost in any business is machinery upkeep, and that's we're looking at buying a new product related to the finishing end of our finish system, and they emailed me yesterday like, hey, are you still willing to do this? I'm like, yeah, but right now I don't know what's wrong with the CNC, and I can't paint stuff I can't make. So
priorities, right?
Yeah, it doesn't do me any good to have wheels for a car I don't own. So
although I've seen people who apply that logic though.
Yeah, well, I'm guilty of it. But yeah, so today was fine. We just had a crazy hectic day and tried to stay in the booth as much as I could, and didn't seem like I got very far today, but I did. I think so. We'll see.
You made some progress.
Yeah, hopefully start putting color on some stuff tomorrow. And it's tough. We took 2 weeks off for Christmas, which we don't normally get to do. So it's going to be a while before we kind of feel like everything's kind of flowing again a little bit. It's a little bit of a bubble. It's kind of like starting the ship up again. So we're almost there.
Nice. Well, good times. I'm glad to hear that today is. Glad we're not recording the podcast yesterday.
Oh no, you would not want to talk to me yesterday.
I would have said, Doug. Remember, we try to keep this clean.
Yeah,
and you've been like, I don't know where I am right now.
Yeah, there would have been 6 words that weren't bleeped out in the entire conversation.
Oh man, good times. I'm glad the ship is been righted and is getting back on course. I'm glad to hear that.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see. Let's go down. Let's go down some classic questions.
Sure.
I don't know how many of these you've done. I know you've done some, but
I've done. I'm around. I probably got good answers.
That's all we're looking for.
That's
what all we're looking for is entertainment here. That's so.
Sure.
Are you not entertained? Yeah. I'm sorry. I gotta be honest. I'm soaking wet right now, so I'm like trying to like get comfortable, and it's just not gonna happen. I'm just gonna have to wallow in my rainwater. Yeah. So nobody cares about that though.
I lived in Seattle for a while. We get to live up there, and we go up and visit all the time. And we did it. Our streak continues. We went up for Christmas. That's what we were on vacation for. Mm-hmm. And the day we landed, it was drizzling down to just overcast. And then this is the middle of obviously the week after Christmas, the worst time of year to be in Seattle. And it was sunny for 3 days. And then we got on a plane and flew home. and it started raining up there again. So, ha.
So, take that, Northwesterners. We
That's
stole
why I had
all
to
of
move
your
back.
good weather.
If we lived up there full time, it'd be a drought. It'd be unseasonably dry. So
It was unseasonably dry this year, to be honest. Like, we kind
yeah,
of need what's our normal stuff back. So
yep, agreed.
the river is finally getting back to a normal and all that stuff.
Good.
Today on the weather podcast, we talk about how wet it is.
Yeah,
And
how Doug's responsible for California's drought completely.
so, okay, I'll try to right this ship now. Let's see if we can do that. Good luck. It's me talking. Here we go. Doug Kaver. I think people would be interested in one of my classic questions.
Sure.
What is your... This is a long one, too. This will take a while, I think. What is your musical backstory, and how did you get to... how did it lead you to doing what you're doing today?
Sure. Well, okay, so I grew up probably, whether I liked it or not, listening to blues and classic rock. I mean, that's what my parents listened to, and my brother went a different direction, but I stuck with it. I'd say probably blues and jazz is probably my main two genres of music that I listen to still to this day. And I couldn't hold a tune, sing, hold pitch to save my soul growing up. But I really desperately wanted guitar lessons because my dad he played guitar, and I really, really wanted to do that. And my parents kept telling me that if I got good grades, that I could get guitar lessons. So eventually I just taught myself how to play guitar. It was much easier than applying myself at school.
Oh, totally. Totally.
Which I think is probably 90% of the guitar playing public. But no, I that's what I grew up doing. I always wanted to play guitar. I have to give 100% credit. The school district that we're in, I happened to be at the school to go through for a music program, and I got in a band in junior high. I joined band. They make you blow on all the mouthpieces, and I could blow on a trombone mouthpiece and make it work. And so I learned to play trombone in junior high, and that I can't read music for guitar, but I would say that if I took anything away from that, it made me understand, pitch, tone, how to play in a band. Started teaching myself guitar in 8th grade, and actually, let me take it back. I started playing bass in 7th or 8th grade, and then my buddy started playing bass, and I realized, well, I also have a guitar, and I'd really rather play guitar, so I finally got serious about learning how to play guitar, and got a chord book, learned some chords, and then in high school, first guy I ever started playing guitar with is still a good friend of mine to this day. He's our photographer. He comes in and does all the twice a year when really good photos show up on our website or Facebook, that's when he's here. The rest of the time when it's like, hey, there's a guitar on a forklift, that's me. But yeah, so I grew up doing that, and got into guitar building. Well, actually, I kind of got into guitar building backwards. I had my on and off again relationship with playing guitar. I played a lot when I was in bands, and then as I got older, I got back into racing. Well, I didn't get back. I got into racing cars more, and kind of guitar fell behind. And then when I got married and bought a house, the car money dried up pretty quick. And ironically, at the same time, my wife, who was ahead of me on her teaching credential, she got a teaching job just after we got married, and this guy that she ended up working in her department played guitar, and she goes, "Oh, you got to meet Dave. He teaches English, and he's into blues guitar. Like, I had never met anybody else at that point randomly that was into blues, and he's like, he goes, he says there's like local jams. You should come out and play." And again, had no idea that existed either, and so he kind of got me back into guitar playing, and then had he not done that, I probably wouldn't have been playing guitar and decided to take a stab at building a guitar. So in a way, he's responsible, and that would be our friend Dave Siegel. So if you follow us and you follow Project Plaidhammer, that's the same guy. That's the guitar we built for him this year.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so if I'd been better at school, and even though I started college before my wife, I finished before her, I probably wouldn't have been building guitars at all. I would have finished my teaching credential and had a real job.
Well, that would have been a dirty shame.
I don't know. There's sometimes I kind of wish I had.
Oh, like when you're trying to work on a CNC machine?
Yeah, or just pay a bill in general. But no, it's kind of a weird roundabout way. My dad was a cabinet builder, still is a cabinet builder. And so I grew up woodworking my whole life, and not long after we got married and I met Dave, this piece of maple came in the shop, and was just one of the random piece of maple, and it was just gorgeous. And I was like, I should build a guitar out of this thing, and got a bunch of parts for my birthday from my wife, and took a stab at building it. And that was, I don't know, 8 years ago, and that guitar is still not done. But it had, I got it up to the point where it played, and then I never quite finished it up because it had just enough learner mistakes that I kind of moved on to doing something else and started building
Right.
Strats and Tellys as a hobby. And actually, I take it back. This predates when we got married because I made it a goal of mine that I really wanted to play guitar. I built at our wedding, and so I built a Olympic white Strat hardtail for myself, and made the body and just used an all parts neck and put it together and played that at my wedding. And then when the recession hit, there was not much else to do for construction work, so I started building more and more just to pass the time. And then, like an idiot, somebody saw the daylighter and went, "Hey, I really like that. You should sell that." And I was like, "Maybe I should." And here I am today.
I like the daylighter. I could understand why somebody would say such a thing.
Yeah, it's still probably our most popular thing, I think. Banshee's a close second.
I was going to say, over the Banshee, interesting.
Yeah, it's about a draw. I think production. I mean, there's 400, or let's see, 248 serial numbers for Daylighter now, but that also includes Arcturus. So that's
right.
We give it the same family serial number, and there's 222 serial numbers for Banshee, but there's not really 222 Banshees. It's after the cease and desist and all that worked itself out, we jumped up from I think like 125 to 200 for the this is the new series. So there's probably two Daylighters for every Banshee, somewhere along that line right now.
Mm-hmm.
But in the last year, I would say they're pretty neck and neck popularity wise.
Gotcha.
They just, but yeah, it's been a really good guitar for us. Daylighter, Banshee 2, Starliner, Arcturus, all of those have. It's still my favorite. Daylighter shape's still my favorite.
It looks really cool. I like it a lot. Yeah, I think actually, I'm trying to remember what the first Kaver I seen was, because I found you guys probably like a lot of people through Instagram.
Sure.
And I'm trying to remember the first one I saw, and I want to say it was one you built for Milkman, I think.
Yeah, could be. So he's got a Starliner. I will say this.
That's right. He's got a Starliner. It's cool.
Of all the guitars I owned, I have a Starliner semi-hollow that you will bury me with. It's the best guitar. It's one of those things. It's hard to describe our best guitar without making the other ones sound worse somehow. It's
Right.
not that the other ones are worse. It's just sometimes like that plus or minus 5% stacks up a certain way, and that one is just a little bit more special than everything else. And it was the first semi-hollow prototype, and I set the neck too low. So the bridge is kind of bottomed out, and I could never sell it. So it's pretty easy for me to keep it.
There you go.
Yeah, Starliner is 100% an original Kaver design. I will say that. That's one thing Starliner has over Daylighter. Daylighter obviously has a lot of Jazzmaster influence. The body's pretty close. It's a little tweaked, but pretty much straight on Jazzmaster for the shape. Starliner is 100% my design, for better or for worse. So even though it's not quite as popular as Daylighter, it's still pretty special to me in that regard.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tim's got a Starliner Standard, the surf blue metallic.
Oh,
pearl.
it's all coming back to me now.
Yep.
That thing. Mm-hmm.
That was a cool guitar.
That's a super cool guitar, man. That's the one. I remember it now. Makes me warm inside to think about that one. I loved that thing.
That one was funny too because I painted it that color, and then I really struggled with what to finish it up with, and because it was routed for P90s, and I was like, man, the black P90s just don't pop off this top right. And then
Right.
Tim's like, oh, can you get get chrome ones, and I was like, well, the only chrome covers I've ever used are the all parts ones, and they're that chromed plastic, which is horrible. So I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'll get some, and they were out of stock. So I Googled it, and WD Music had them, and I didn't know until I got them. The WD Music covers are real metal. Their nickel covers are legit nickel covers, and they look way better. And so it kind of worked. Like had that not happened, or if it happened at any other time, it probably wouldn't come out as good as that guitar had. Like the Bigsby and the nickel P90 covers was like that's the combo. That thing looks great. So worked out.
Yeah, very much. That I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna go back in and grab that picture and use that as
Sure.
the announcement for this episode when it comes out. Yeah, that's how I roll.
3,000 photos ago on Instagram at this point.
I can dig. I can dig deep. That sounds weird. Anyway, sounds really creepy. No, don't worry. Don't worry. I can creep on Instagram better than anyone.
There you go.
Oh man, where's my white van? Gee whiz.
Paul and I have been experimenting with UV curable finish, and Paul's been doing a lot of the waving the magic UV wand over it, which we just basically shorthanded as flashing. And yesterday I was like, man, Paul's got so much flashing that we're gonna have to go by the name is the ladies call him. And Andrew's like, what do ladies call him? I was like, hey, you behind the bushes.
Oh,
yeah.
jeez. And the
well here.
for everyone who doesn't know, we are speaking of Paul Roney, who shares shares the shop space with Mr. Kaver down there.
Yep.
So,
yep.
he's been on the show before. So yeah. Anyway, now I got sidetracked. I had something lined up. Oh yeah, I don't know if you can talk about this or want to, and I don't mean to bring up bad things, but I don't really know. You've mentioned the cease and desist a couple times to me, and I actually don't really know anything about that. I also don't know how much you can tell me about it. So,
no, I can talk about it. It's resolved at this point. So Banshee predates Kaver Guitars, as a business. I built some Firebirds for fun. It was one of the guitars that I would say was the first guitar I ever built truly from scratch. Fretboard, body, carved the neck, all of it. Mostly because it's neck through, so you basically you're all in.
right.
And it was a lot of things. I always loved. No offense to Strat, Tele, Les Paul people, but if I never saw another Telecaster, Strat, or Les Paul in my life, I'd be a happy man. I just don't care anymore. I get it, and I played Strats until I built my very first Banshee, essentially. And I just kind of like off the beaten path stuff more these days. And that's a lot of the beauty of the boutique thing. Like, I don't care about somebody else's Strat. I'd rather see somebody else's original work. And so I kind of built those for fun. And then we started doing daylighters, and a couple years into it, people started catching on that I used to make those things. And I kind of didn't want to do it because I knew eventually we were going to end up in this boat that we did. But we started doing them, and I had looked into it years ago, and this is kind of what saved my butt. Gibson hadn't filed a trademark on anything for a Firebird. Headstock, body shape, none of it. There was no trademarks like 7 years ago. And I actually have an email timestamped with our lawyer to that exact line that we had looked into it. So we started doing them more and more, and we met Scott Holiday from Rival Sons. And, well, actually, a customer of mine's like, man, you got to check this guy out. You'd love this band. He plays a Firebird. You should talk to him. And it's like 4 or 5 years ago now. And so we managed to find him through our friends Blake and Holly at Gearphoria, because they had done, back when it was What's That Dude Play, they did an interview with Scott. So he hooked me up with Scott. I sent him an email. It's like, hey, I really love what you guys are doing, and I'd love to talk to you about having you play one of our Banshees. And I get an email back like 30 minutes later, and it was Scott. He was all excited about it. He goes, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I wanted to buy one of your Banshees years ago, but I couldn't afford it, so I bought that Gibson Custom Shop Firebird and spent more money making that thing be what I wanted it to be than if I had just bought one of yours. I would love to work with you. And I was like, done.
Nice.
So we did those, and then basically, I'm not going to put myself out too far here. I think what really boiled down to is Gibson wanted Scott as an endorser, and he told them no. and we got the short end of the stick. And which is fine. And actually, you know what? I don't want to come off like, oh God, Gibson bullied us on this. They filed a trademark on all their stuff 3 years ago. Now, the legality of that is in debate. Their lawsuit with Paul Reed Smith basically sets the precedent that you can't come to something 55 years after you made it originally and trademark it. That's a tough titties for that thing.
Right.
But let me rephrase that. You can trademark it. It just is not going to maybe stand up in court if people are willing to fight it long enough. So, had they come after me earlier in Banshee's history, we might not have fought for it. But they sent me a cease and desist, and I was very happy to get it because it finally let me take that guitar and turn it into what I really wanted. And we never would have been able to do that had they not sent it to me, because everyone would still be like, well, I want the original shape. And we wanted to change that guitar up quite a bit. And basically it went on for about a year, but we finally got it worked out and turned out to be pretty amicable on both sides. And I got to redesign it to be, still, obviously got a fair amount of influence of that design, but it's our thing now. That doesn't share any common points with the original. Every corner of that guitar is different. The waistline is different. The cutaways are different. Our headstock's different. The control placements are different. It's different pickguard shape. The neck joint's different. Everything's different. And so and that was kind of when we had to go back and forth with Gibson. Part of our goodwill, why this ended pretty well, is that time-stamped email to say, hey, look, we looked into this. We didn't know you had filed after we looked into it. As soon as we got a cease and desist, we shut it down immediately. My client's done us. We've done everything we can to make this work for everybody involved. So it actually ended up okay. And I much prefer my version now. When we hang it, there's a couple of, my personal prototype, ish Banshees that I built before the business that are still around. And when you hang them side by side, I like our version much more. So works out for me.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, I'm glad it was one of those all's well that ends well type of thing.
Yeah,
so.
it was just expensive and a year and a half of drama, but it was worth it. I don't mind in the long run.
Nice. Something you said a little bit kind of ticked something in my brain. You said the neck joint is different. How?
It's still a neck through. It's more where the neck meets, where the transition from body to neck happens. It's cut much differently than the original.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's the joint itself. There's no change to the joint because it's still neck through itself, but just where it meets up is different.
Okay, I gotcha. I was like, how do you make a different neck through? That's interesting.
Yeah, got me on a technicality there.
I was like, there's magic. There's magic happening over there. They created a different system somehow. Oh, I gotcha. I follow you now. That's
sure.
Cool. Nice, man. So you obviously you were talking about you like the off the beaten path stuff a lot more. Mm-hmm. So what, like, do you pretty much exclusively play your own stuff these days, or what do you think?
I would play lots of people's stuff if I didn't do this for a living and I could afford it. I have a Cole on the eventual order list, which I am a huge fan of Saul's work. Frankly, 90% of our pickguards are accidental ripoffs of Saul's work. But he's getting a Banshee and I'm getting a Cole eventually. It's kind of, he's getting a Banshee eventually. Yeah, when it's friend-to-friend trade stuff, it's kind of like when we both have time, and neither of us ever have time, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Same thing with Nick Huber, who is one of the guys, the earliest people I ever met in this business, and who's been unbelievably supportive of me and our guitars. He's got a Banshee, and eventually I'll get a Huber at some point, too. It's the same bow. I told him he's got 10 years. So I think we're only at year 2 right now, so that's okay. I have a Roni Marquis that I can actually legitimately say this is probably the first guitar I ever kind of paid for in, I don't know, 10 or 15 years now. Since, it was one that it was the very first Marquis he built, and I always loved it, and it popped up on Reverb. And actually, a customer of mine hipped me to it on Reverb, asking me about it, and I kind of swooped in underneath them and made a deal to grab that thing. And
Well,
yeah. So
a former customer.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Well, I made it up for him in regards for the next guitar he was looking at from ours. So everybody was okay on that. But yeah, I had to snag that thing. I absolutely adore that guitar. So it's the first non-Kaver. I mean, I still have guitars I bought before the business, but yeah, I there's tons of guitars I would love to play. Frankly, I don't have time to play my own either, so it's not like anybody's getting the short end of the stick here. But I would love to own a Springer, a Cole, a Huber, one of Sam Evans from Cardinal Instruments. I'd love to own one of his.
Oh yeah,
there's tons of, and it's one of these lists that I can't make the list without leaving somebody out by accident, making them feel offended. There's tons. I would love to own all kinds of stuff. You know, and if I was a teacher, I probably could afford to. It's funny because I have a lot of amps, and we do a lot of amp and guitar trades with friends of mine. I have a Milkman, and Benson, and a bunch of satellites. Adam's one of my favorite people on earth. And Josh at JHS I'm looking at his second guitar on the wall here right now. Brad from Mojo Hand, Earthquaker guys. So I have lots of that stuff, but like it's kind of funny. Like we do all these trades, but guitar to guitar builder is not always as much, which is kind of a shame. Mostly because probably none of us have time to play guitar, so it's kind of lower priority.
Nice,
yeah.
nice, good times. Let's see. Well, you kind of just listed a bunch of stuff. I was gonna say, and since you don't really have time to play, this question is a little bit null and void. But if you were to go play, say, at a gig or something,
sure,
what would your rig look like?
Right now, the local jam that I go out to from time to time is usually my Starliner. The next time I go out, it'll be that Marquee because I just got that thing pretty recently. I haven't been out with it yet. Amps vary. The Benson's the newest, so I've been taking that out a lot lately. My rotation is pretty solid between either my Benson, my Milkman, or my Sam amp. Just because for the jam night stuff, they're the perfect rigs for that. I would bring my satellites if I could get away with the volume, but all my satellites are much too rude for that. They're amazing amps, and I happily annoy my neighborhood with them. But right now, it's probably my Benson and my Starliner Semi-Hall is kind of my go-to rig.
Nice.
And then my pedal board mixes up from time to time, but I've got a Flint and a Lex on there that's permanently attached, and my all-time favorite pedal of all time is my Electro Harmonix C9, where I get to annoy everyone by pretending to be an organ player that I really want to be. I would much rather play organ than play guitar if I had any left hand, right hand coordination. And then I don't know. I think at any given point on my pedal board, there's like 4 overdrives and 4 fuzz pedals, and that's it.
Oh yeah.
That's like I don't have any delays. Well, I have a deco, but I use it mostly for the saturation side, so it's sort of half counts. Overdrives and fuzzes. That's my wheelhouse.
Let's talk fuzz. Let's talk fuzz.
Man.
You're speaking to the right man to talk about fuzz. So
and it's funny because I have kind of a love-hate with fuzzes. I've had a lot of fuzzes I don't like as much as I want to like. My all-time is my Mojo Hand BMP1, which is, I would assume, a muff of some sort, and it's phenomenal. That's another, you're going to bury me with that pedal thing. I adore that one. Solid Gold Effects just sent me their new one, which I love. I really like it, and it was really kind of them to send me one.
Is that the Sasori?
Yep. That thing's great.
That thing's fantastic.
I have a Colossus by Mojo Hand. Brad builds my favorite fuzzes for some. Like I have JHS fuzzes and I have Earthquakers, and Brad's are just. It's the same as describing that guitar. It's hard to say his are better. They're just, for some reason, I like them a little bit more. But I have like a Firefly and a bunch of JHS fuzzes, and they're all phenomenal too. But that Colossus and that BMP1 are just my favorites. They're so good.
Nice. All right. Well, we've talked fuzz. That's a short conversation on fuzz. I thought we could just go on. Do you have like certain style? Are you a big muff man? Like, do you have a certain
I think
style?
I am at heart. I think that's what it comes down to. Is I tend to like muff style fuzzes the most. I of all the ones I've had, it seems to be that realm of the spectrum is my favorite. Um, I would love to build a fuzz where you could dial, like it was almost, I don't know if you would use a blend pot or that you could basically split the lows and the highs separately, and dial them in more or less separately, like against the dry signal. Because that's the one thing, like sometimes I have a tricky time with fuzzes balancing that act. Like they'll just drive the bottom end too hard, or sometimes I like a big fuzzy raunchy bottom end, but not as much up top. So that would be cool if somebody wants to build that. They would certainly have me for a customer.
That almost sounds like you would like a big muff with like an active EQ circuit in there or something.
Yeah. I think either that or like I said, you could just feed the dry signal back in, on top or on bottom independently. I don't know. Somebody smarter than me can figure it out. I don't. I build guitars. I just make things out of wood and stick to very simple circuits in them.
Do you have a preferred pickup and electronics combination in your guitars?
Sometimes I go through phases for years. Our humbuckers and P90s for all Cowers are wound specifically for us by Wolf Tone, and they're unbelievably great and they're unbelievably consistent. I've had so many pickups from Wolf, and I've never had one that didn't sound right. I find these days I tend to be mostly just playing humbucker stuff. I went through a phase for years where I was pretty much only playing P90 stuff, and I don't know, I'm just kind of out of it for right now. My favorite stuff tends to be humbuckers, though I would say for off the beaten path stuff, my probably all time favorite pickup right now, my two favorites is either Lawler's Charlie. Three favorites, I'll give you three. Lawler's Charlie Christians are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And Lawler's Regal, which is their wide range, is quickly becoming my favorite pickup all around right now. We've been doing a ton of Arcturus with those, and they're great. I really like the Roadhouse KT100s. They're my all-time favorite mini-sized humbucker or pickup. They're still a single coil. I don't know how close, if they're based on the Supro stuff that Ken does, or if they're totally. I think they're totally his own design. We've been doing a lot of Banshees with them lately because I just really like them. They're almost a perfect middle between a P90 and a Firebird Mini, which makes me happy. And so I really like those. TV Jones Powertrons, and we do that a lot. Powertron Plus combo. And I even talked to Tom a while. I was like, I don't know what you guys are doing, but the last few months have been slightly better than normal, and they've been the best sounding pickups I've ever heard. Even eclipsing out our humbuckers lately. Like I don't know if it's just I'm in the right mood for them. They seem to be the best pickup for Banshee. Like every time we do a Banshee with those pickups, it's my favorite Banshee. And that's what's in two of the three of Scott Holliday's Banshees. And yeah, I like a lot of stuff. I mean, for one specifically, that at my house, it's pretty much all humbucker stuff right now. That's my personal guitars, but I am kind of thinking about putting those Powertrons in that Oceana Marquee that I got from, that Paul built. It's got the Roadhouse Vista tones in it right now, the Supros, which I really, really like too. But I kind of want to hear those Powertrons in that guitar. I think that might be amazing.
That's interesting. Yeah, the Vistatones. I'm supposed to go over to Ken's.
Sure,
he's here in Portland. I'm supposed to go over there and try out a bunch of stuff. I'm supposed to email him.
I love the Vistatones. I really like Ken's. Like when Paul first started using Ken and his pickups, like Paul was really into the really low output humbuckers from Ken, and I got it. But as a builder from a business point of view, I thought they were a horrible decision to put in a guitar because they're a pickup you have to explain to somebody. Like they're really cool and they sound great, but if you pick that guitar up off the wall at a guitar store and plugged it in, you'd be like, "Why does this thing have such low output?" Like you wouldn't get it. And so, from a business point of view, that's a tough sell. If somebody knows it and asks for it specifically, that's great. But when I got to start getting into Ken stuff through Paul, the Supro based stuff, and then the KT100s and the Vista, all that stuff, those are my favorites. Those are great pickups. And so I kind of like that Ken has really made a name for himself doing some of the off the beaten path pickups, because it's nice to have a good consistent source for some new stuff. Like, especially, I mean, you follow our Instagram account. I mean, how much stuff have you seen in the last 4 or 5 months? It's been gold foils, KT100s,
Yep.
Regals, kind of really outside the norm of the humbucker P90 stuff we've been doing for the last 8 years. So that's been nice, and like I said, I mean, that KT100 to Ken's I think is his best pickup by far. That pickup's fantastic.
Yeah, I got to try that. I'm super jazzed to try him out. I need to hurry up because Paul's going to be wondering what he's going to stick in that Oceana, and so I'm going to have to say, I haven't gone over there yet. So no, I need to get on over there so I can, because I was like, I'm going to go over to Ken's and I'm going to pick one because I guarantee there's going to be something out of that batch I like. Based on description, I'm leaning towards Vistatones.
Sure,
but that could easily change when I go over there and play all of them. So
they're really great. Yeah, that's the thing about Arcturus. That's why we've been having a lot of fun with Arcturus this year. Is I intentionally, anything I do with a pick guard, I put the biggest route I possibly can under that pick guard so that you can keep your options open. But up until Arcturus, we never had a model with a true bathtub route. And Arcturus, I designed intentionally for that. I mean, I wanted to have a bigger pick guard on it than anything else we make, and I wanted to be able to say, okay, today I feel like putting Charlie Christians in, and tomorrow I feel like putting wide ranges in this guitar, and so we've got to do a lot of pickups that we haven't done lately, or hadn't done historically, especially wide ranges, and it's been a lot of fun for that, and it's opened up a lot of possibilities that I probably that I wouldn't be able to consider, like on a Starliner carved top or a Daylighter carved top, where you don't have the footprint to try out a bunch of things. So it's been a lot of fun for that, and that's where that's why I'm having a hard time picking down my favorite combo right now, because the one upside to building guitars for a living, you're poor and you work a lot, but you get to play a lot of guitars. You get to play a lot of guitars and a lot of combinations that you maybe wouldn't consider. And we did an Arcturus for a customer real recently. He wanted unpotted Supertrons from TV Jones, and that might have been the best sounding Arcturus of all time. That guitar was really sad to ship out. This thing is great. There's so many good pickups out there. That's why I don't have a problem with the bathtub route. I like options. I'm good with a soldering iron. I can make another pick guard.
You've made a pick guard or two in your life.
Yeah, just a few.
You know how this works. That's interesting. You mentioned the wide rangers a couple times. I messed with the fake wide rangers. The ones that are just their regular humbucker with the wide range cover on it. And I was like, no, whatever, they're fine. But last year I got a 74 Tele Custom that had the vintage, the original wide ranger in the neck. Yeah, in the neck, and it was like, that is my absolute favorite guitar that I own right now for clean playing. I put it in the middle position, dial back the neck pickup slightly volume wise, and it's just like the prettiest sounding thing. I'm just in love with wide rangers really right now.
Now I don't know if the Lawler Regals are. I don't think they use the same, because I know the original wide rangers had that really funky magnet, and I'm not entirely sure if the Lawlers do. But whatever they're doing with that pickup, I don't care. It's fantastic.
They don't, and there's only one company out there that does right now. But pretty much that everyone, and the reason is because that magnet is ridiculous expensive.
And it doesn't thread well, and I know the rationale behind it, and I don't care whatever that. I think honestly, that's my favorite pickup from Lawler is the Regal. It's really good.
Well, I think everybody, including Lawler, that is doing wide range reproductions now, except for Fender for some reason, has done their they take a vintage one and they go get as absolutely as close
as they can.
Yep. And from what I've heard from everyone who's played both, tough to tell the difference. So
yeah, I believe it. Yeah, they're great. I mean, you play it and it's like, wow, this is what a Fender humbucker would sound like. I mean, it's still a humbucker, and it's got the output that I love, and it's quiet, but it's got Fender spank that no traditional, humbucker of ours has, and it's It's really cool. That Banshee that we just did at the end of the last year, that was the first one we've done with wide ranges, and the first Banshee with a mastery and stuff. That was a really fun guitar, and that was a guitar that was kind of sad to sell up until I got the check, and then I was pretty happy again.
Yeah.
But
that always helps, doesn't it?
It was a neat combination, and I can't wait to do a few more of those this year. It was a neat kind of Bannerbird, or I don't know what the hell we'll call it, Banshee. Let's see, Banturus. I think that was the name we'd kind of given it. Was kind of half Arcturus, half Banshee. It was great. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it makes me wonder, like, I mean, I know Fender's just a business and they're going to do whatever sells, and that's fine, but it makes me wonder, like, why has Fender not done what, like, Lawler's done or somebody else to try to recreate that pickup closer instead of just having this regular humbucker?
Bet most people just don't know. Most people don't, if you knew the difference, you'd probably be putting your own pickups in anyway. So why?
Well, that's true
from their end. And honestly, it's probably great for everybody else that don't. If they did, why, it would probably hurt everybody else's sales. So it's probably, why doesn't Gibson just build a Firebird with P90s in it? They would be like half our sales gone. Probably shouldn't have said that on the air.
No.
I mean, don't do that, Gibson. That's none of our sales.
Nobody even buys those. Nobody would buy that. Why would?
Yeah,
Gibson, please.
They probably pay realistically. Fender's probably paying, I don't know, $1 a pickup maybe, and they probably would cost them $2 a pickup, which seems like a really cheap move until you times it by a few 100,000 guitars, and then I get it.
Yeah, well, it just seems like if they put it out like here I am giving. Fender needs more money. But, but it seems like they would sell if they did like their American Vintage reissue of those. The Tele Custom and the Deluxe and the Thin Line whatever, with the right pickup in it, people would they would go crazy. They would sell thousands of those. And
I would think so.
But like I said, Fender, don't do that. We'll have somebody else do it. Maybe Kaver will come up with it.
No Tele from us. We're good.
No Smellicasters.
Nope.
Yeah, you already mentioned that. Okay, fine. I
just don't. The world doesn't need another guy building a Telecaster.
No, I totally get it, and no disrespect to guys that do build them, but I totally get where you're coming from. Yeah, that makes sense.
I should probably caveat that I have lots of friends who make very good livings doing that, and I'm not going to begrudge them for it. It's just not what I want to do. I want to do something that nobody else has made within reason. I don't need to be the next Teufel or anything like that. I'm not that creative, obviously, because my designs are not that wild. But I just want to hang my hat on it with my name on it and say, hey, nobody else quite makes this thing. And then that way, when people complain about our prices, I'm like, well, nobody else quite makes this thing. So,
if that's what you want, then there it is. Yeah. Go and get her.
Not that I set our prices out of greed. I mean, our prices are determined mostly by what it takes to keep the doors open. But it certainly helps say, okay, well, if you want a $2,900 Arcturus and you don't want to pay $2,900, well, somebody else will make you something similar, but it's not going to be ours. It's not going to be an Arcturus.
Well, hold on though. But couldn't people just go on your website and fill out that form, and then they'll get it for free, right?
Oh yeah, my 31 question long artist form that sends their email directly to my trash folder anyway.
That was one of that's
fill
one
that
of my
out all you want.
I did. I filled it out. And
I remember yours actually. It doesn't quite go straight to the trash, but yeah, I do remember yours. Yours was quite entertaining.
I immediately texted my buddy Leon and was like, dude, go on Kaver's website and fill their form out. He's like, what? He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I don't understand. I was like, just go on there and fill the form out, okay? You'll be glad you did.
For people who haven't used it, what we're talking about is, okay, so when you're in this
business...
Don't
tell them what happens.
Okay, when you're in this business, you start getting emails from about day one from people who think they deserve a free guitar. And no matter how many times it says on our website, we don't give away guitars for free, that every single person on our website who's an artist listed on there has paid for their guitar, at least their first one. Don't ask us. Don't email us. And certainly, if you're going to email us, don't make me Google you and figure out who you are. At least try to give me some information. So as a punishment now, if you want to use our artist inquiry form, there's 30 required questions. And they're dumb questions. So please feel free to fill one out. It's highly entertaining to us, and you probably will not get a reply. It even tells you before you start, we're probably not even going to reply to this. But we still get them. I still get at least a couple a week.
Guys,
and my answer's always the same. Want to become a Kaver artist? Buy a Kaver and we'll talk.
Right. I do want to encourage everyone to go on the website and fill out that form. There is a little treat at the end.
Yeah. We did give you a little reward at the end to make it worth it.
It is definitely worth it. I was trying to get a free Kaver, and I went in there and I filled it out, and I didn't get a free Kaver. I did not. But what I did come away with was a wonderful, wonderful thing. So I want to encourage everyone to go check that out.
My favorite time this happened, oh God, I forgot about this till really recently. About 3 years ago, I was just about to go to bed. It's like 10:30 at night, which doesn't sound late to anyone without kids, but it's late. And my phone rang, my cell phone, which is not the business phone number, but it rings my cell phone too. And I saw that it was a business call. I'm like, who the hell is calling me at 10:30 at night? I was like, oh, Teresa's like, and my wife's like, oh, just let it go to voicemail. I'm like, no, I want to find out who this is. So I picked up the phone, and it was clearly a kid called me, wanting to find out if we did endorsements. And like, I if this had happened, it was like a kid who was probably maybe 14. Like, you could just tell over the phone. And if his mom had come in the room and said, Timmy, who are you talking to at 10:30 at night? Oh, I forgot. It was a New York phone number. So it was like 1:30 in the morning. If I had heard that over the phone, I would have given that kid a guitar, because it would have made me laugh so hard instead of being just annoyed that he called me at 10:30 at night. Like, I know that's what happened. I know that if we had talked 2 more minutes, his mom would have come in and interrupted that phone call. And I would have given him a guitar if it was on a landline and she had picked up the phone. That would have been even better. Like old school. That would have been amazing. Yeah, that was so funny. I was so mad, but when I hung up the phone, I couldn't help it. I just laughed my ass off for that. It was really great.
What did he say?
I can't even remember. He was just like, I'm in this band and we're playing gigs, and I'm like, yeah, that's great, buddy. Don't call me at 10:30 at night. That will probably get you a lot further than this conversation will. I didn't want to be a jerk about it, but I was like, oh, okay, yeah, just shoot me an email. I never heard from him again. Yeah.
It's because his mom probably told him to get off the phone. And
yeah, I'm sure, right? It was so funny. Oh, my God. Yeah, that one was really entertaining. And then I learned quickly how to set my work phone number to not ring past a certain time.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, man. How am I going to call the shop at 1:30 in the morning?
God. That's the thing. Like, because I don't want people to think we have a bad idea, we really immensely appreciate our artists. It's really important to us. It's important to everybody. But legitimately, some artists sell guitars for us. Most don't. And even then, we couldn't survive on any single artist's sales. It's a couple guitars a year, realistically. The reason why we don't do free guitars is A, we can't afford it. B, I don't want someone playing my product because it was free. I want someone playing my product because they want to play it. They're willing to spend their money to play it, because it's not fair to everybody else who has to save up for a year or 2 years or 3 years to buy one of my guitars, that they had to work for it, and some guy who thinks he's entitled to it, who legitimately, if you were big enough to get a free guitar from us, you could afford it.
Right.
If you're that big, you can afford one of our guitars. We're not that expensive. It's not fair to everybody else.
This topic keeps coming up again and again.
It's the crux of this industry. Yeah.
Everybody. I mean, I think you've read. Yeah. I don't need to plug this article anymore. But since we're talking about it, I wrote that blog post because of these conversations, and I'm like, I can't believe that this is like a epidemic. And anyway, People have heard me complain and whine about it on this podcast before, so I'll try not to.
Yeah, the Oatmeal nailed it the best. The comic, the Oatmeal, they put up a comic a while back, and it went everywhere in this industry because we all knew it really well.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, about graphic artists getting paid in exposure, and then they go try to buy a hot dog, and the guy's like, I don't get paid in exposure. You pay for a hot dog with cash. It's the same thing in this business. My landlords don't care who's playing my guitars. They want a check. And they want that check before the 10th of every month, period. And so it's just, we had an artist who wanted a band, and I know, like, it was very easy for, like, we always were we never really would do a free guitar for somebody, but I had worked out a deal with one of our dealers who really wanted us to do a guitar for an artist, a pretty big artist, who's also a good friend of his, and it quickly snowballed into a bunch of things that I wouldn't do for any paying customer. And then he complained that it wasn't moving fast enough, and I was like, I'm out. I'm not doing it for you. I'm done. And it was the exact same epiphany. I'm like, why is Timmy, who's calling, mommy's going to be mad at him for calling me and spending his money with me, who's saved up and worked a paper route for 3 years to buy a guitar for me. Why am I not working on his guitar right now? Why am I working on the guitar that I'm not getting paid to work on? It's not fair. And so
for somebody who apparently doesn't care.
Yeah. And so I was like, I'm out. I don't want to do this stuff for you anyway. I wouldn't do it for anybody who was paying regardless. I just don't want to do this guitar. And, in any business, saying no is something that is hard to do at first. And then the more you do it, the better off you realize you are immediately. Like, it's just always better to say no. And I get requests all the time, and I'm like, no, I just don't want to do that. Or why not? I'm like, because I don't want to do it means I'm not going to actually work on it, which means your guitar is going to be late. Then you're going to be mad at me. Then you're never going to be happy when it does show up late because I didn't want to work on it in the first place. So no, I just don't want to do leopard print metal flake. I'm not interested in that, or whatever. Whatever oddball request. Actually, I would totally do leopard print metal flake.
I was going to say that sounds like something you would do.
I would totally do that. But I get some oddball requests, and I'm like, we get requests for Banshees a lot, and Banshees are not only a difficult guitar to build, it's very thin. So most of the requests for like Trems and Floyds and Sustainiacs they don't fit, or I just don't want to do them. Like, there's no room for push-pull pots. There's no room for a trem. It is what it is. This is the version we make, and that's the only version of it. So,
but then you get why? But why?
Yeah.
Why,
there was
Doug?
One guy who's really very particular in his specs, and I told him exactly that. I just don't want to build this. Like, I don't want to build it, and then I'm not going to work on it. And then you're going to be mad because I'm not working on it. So let's just cut this off at the head and just say, no thanks. He was like, oh, I understand that. That's fine. I'm like, good, because I don't want to do it.
Right. Well, there's somebody who'll build it for you.
Yep, exactly. Yep, there's plenty of guys who build guitars. It's just not going to be me.
But he wanted it to say Kaver on it. Now he's going to pirate your logo. And you're going to find one of these things again. Jeez.
Yeah, that's all right. Whatever. Paul and I were joking about that yesterday, and I'm going to start building phonies, and it'll be great. I'm going to start ripping Paul off, and it'll be fantastic.
Undercutting them. Like, hey, check out this.
4 times as much. I'm going to be super. You're going to want that phony.
The phony, man. Check out this Broshiana.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Yeah, sign me up for a phony Broshiana, man.
Man, when there's a phony Broshiana from China, I'm gonna be. That's when Paul's gonna know he made it. That'll be perfect.
I mean, that's really gonna on one hand that would really be dumb, but on the one hand that would be so funny.
There's a website that advertises fake Kavers.
There is.
Yeah. I've never actually seen if they've made one. They just stole our pictures and said they would make it. I can't remember what it's. It's one of the bigger. They do a bunch of fake signature ones and stuff for other. I just can't remember what it is. And like the best part is they stole an eBay listing from a dealer who's no longer a dealer of ours. And the best part about it, and the reason I know that, is because not only was it their pictures, but they had copied the wrong description on the eBay listing. So the Chinese copied the wrong description. The Chinese website copied the wrong description, and it was it was really funny. And it wasn't even like they mixed up a Kaver model. It was like they posted a Kaver and a Nags on their eBay store at the same time, and I don't know if they just said make another post, and then they forgot to update the description, but it was like a description was for like a Nags, and then it was our guitar, and I was like, interesting.
So this is this is like I'm trying to come up with like how
that happened?
not an acronym, but how there's Chibsons.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like a chower or
it'd be a Kaver. It'd be a Kaver for sure. Kaver. That's the most commonly misspelling of my last name ever. It's because I have bad handwriting. It would definitely be a Kaver.
A Kaver.
Yep.
A Kaver Guitar Plus from China. Real nice sound. Great job.
The Kaver Moonlighter, probably.
Man, that's great.
I'm kind of amazed that I think the only document I've ever had that has my name spelled correctly in an official sense was surprisingly my high school diploma. Not my social security card. That was spelled wrong. I've had all kinds of wrong ones, but that one, and they're usually Kaver. That's usually the one.
Nice, man.
I should probably go buy Kaver guitars tonight. Now that I think about it,
Kaver guitar. Oh man, there probably is some builder somewhere named Kaver, and he's like, why is this Kaver guy taking all my traffic?
There's so many. Okay, we've been contemplating doing something new and possibly bringing it out under a new brand name, and it made me realize how hard it is to find a guitar name at this point that's not taken. Like Kaver, I'm the most famous Kaver in America, I would assume at this point, according to Google. It's just a very uncommon name in even in Germany where it's from. It's not all that common, and so that was fine. And then our model names came after steam engines, which if you live in Sacramento, it's pretty hard not to be obsessed with trains. And I love trains, so that was fine. And then I tried to come up with something new, and I was like, it was so bad. The name that we decided on, I didn't even bother to Google it for 3 months or the last couple months while we've been kind of kicking this idea around. And I was like, I should probably look up and see if that name's like. I emailed my web guy. I was like, hey, can you buy this domain name for me in case we use it? He's like, did you bother to look and see if it was? I was like, no. He's like, it's in use. I'm like, dang it. And then there was like 30 times in a row I kept coming up with names. And like, there are too many. It's like the rent's too damn high guy. There's too many damn guitar builders. It's like, oh man, now I feel for it. That's why we all use our last name because, well, at least for some of us, our last names are fairly unique. It's like, it's so hard. There's so many of us now.
Right.
The best part is the original name that I wanted was taken by a guy that's like 20 minutes from here, and I never knew he existed. I'm like, man, wonder if he's using that name. Nah, I'm not gonna ask him that. Yeah.
Nice,
It'd
man.
be hard to come up with a new. It's really hard. Yeah. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag on that thing too much, but yeah, that's something that we've been looking at and hasn't gotten off the ground stage yet, partly because of the name's such a pain.
Yeah, I can actually really relate, and I went through a similar struggle here lately, and yeah, I'll have to. It's not ready for the unveiling yet. But,
sure.
When it is, people will understand why I went the way I went. And,
yeah, I feel you. I know exactly how you feel.
It's still good. It just
yep.
It just I was like nipping this thing in the bud, and I just knew that the oh yeah, this is making for really great podcast right now. This thingy that's coming out it just made it substantially easier and no less cool. So
yep,
that's why.
Perfect.
I did it. Yep.
So you got another question for me?
Well, I was just looking at the time. We have cracked that hour mark, and so
sure.
I was going to say, if you have anything you'd like to shamelessly plug, website, social media, blah blah blah, so on and so forth, now is the time to do it.
I'm sorry, I've lost you for a second there, buddy.
Oh, I said. Oh, sorry. I said if you have anything you want to shamelessly plug, like website, social media, all that good stuff, now's the time to do it.
Kaver Guitars is the place to go. It will be maybe tomorrow at least, but yeah, I mean it's just KAUERguitars.com and Instagram is Kaver Guitars and Twitter is Kaver Guitars and our Google Plus is probably Kaver Guitars. I haven't been there in like a decade. And Facebook's
That's a
Tower
thing
Guitars,
still?
and yeah, I don't know. I still get emails from it from time to time, but I never figured it out in the first place. But yeah, I'm around. I'm like I said, I'm the most famous cower in America according to Google, which probably annoys my brother, who's probably he's probably a close second.
He's right on your
He's
heels.
yeah. No, I doubt I'm the most famous cower in America. But if you do type cower, you do find us pretty quick. So
There you go.
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the longest rambling, probably 3 questions you ever had answered in your life.
You'd be surprised. I actually, now I'm sorry, I should wrap this up, but I actually did do a podcast interviewing another guitar builder where I didn't even get to ask my questions.
Nice. That's the best kind.
Yeah, we went on some of these random tangents. They were related, but I was like, "You got to come back on. I didn't ask you any of my questions." He's like, "Oh,
Well,
okay."
That makes it good. Well, if the same boat happens for me, I promise I will lightning round it with you next time. I will be much more succinct.
The rambling's fun. So,
Well,
all right,
good.
man. Well, I guess I'll wrap this up in the way that I always do. So, for Doug Cower, I'm Blake Weiland, and all you all out there, good luck and good tones.
Perfect.
Alrighty, folks, that does it for today. As you can hear, I have contracted the legendary Namthrax. Yes, I have a cold. I'm very plugged. I apologize. But while at NAMM, I did get a lot of great extra stuff, including a interview with Paul Reed Smith. Some of you may have seen this already. It's posted up on the 60 Cycle Hum YouTube page or in their podcast feed. Ryan and I sat down with Paul and we asked him the real hard-hitting questions, as you know I'm prone to do. So there's that coming. There's a podcast with Daniel Tyak of Salvage Custom and also with Ryan from 60 Cycle Hum. And then I sat down with Lance Seymour of Gear Talk. And again, Ryan with 60 Cycle Hum. He orchestrated this whole thing, and him and Steve led me through my first NAMM as a NAMM Sherpas, if you will, because it's quite a place to navigate if you've never been there before. So thanks to those guys for helping make my experience much, much better. And if you're not listening to 60 Cycle Hum already, what's wrong with you? Go do it. Get over there and listen to their show. You like guitars, after all. Crying out loud. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, as always. And don't forget to head over to tonemob.com and sign up for the email list. As you know and have heard before, there's all kinds of juicy stuff that happens over there that some people aren't privy to because they're not on the list. Get on the list. Get on the list. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys next week. Have a good one.
One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gunstreet as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gunstreet harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.